Few could have predicted the ascent of one of America's most influential pastors, with a personal fortune exceeding $100 million and a congregation of 50,000 weekly attendees in a former NBA arena. He built a global ministry that reaches millions. His message promises prosperity, health, and happiness through faith, drawing believers from across the United States and around the world. Yet recent scandals, hidden finances, and public controversies now threaten the empire he created. To understand how a faith-driven institution became so vulnerable, one must look beyond the smiling face and into the structures that made it so powerful. A church like no other. The physical scale of this church is extraordinary. The arena, once home to professional basketball, seats 16,000 in sweeping arcs around a central stage lit with LED screens and dramatic lighting. Each weekend, 4 services fill the venue with tens of thousands of attendees. Ushers guide families, camera crews navigate the crowd, and the hum of anticipation is palpable. Beyond these walls, the church broadcasts worldwide, reaching homes in over 100 countries. Translations in multiple languages, digital streams, and social media amplify its influence. This is a ministry that operates as both a media network and a global community, transcending the limits of a traditional congregation. The power of prosperity. At the center of the ministry's appeal is the prosperity gospel, a message that emphasizes wealth, health, and success as markers of faith. Sin, judgment, and repentance are largely absent from sermons. Instead, believers are offered hope and practical guidance on achieving abundance. The strategy has proven highly effective, fueling book sales, speaking engagements, merchandise, and broadcast deals. More than 20 million copies of his books circulate worldwide. While he claims no salary from the church itself, royalties and licensing have made him one of the wealthiest preachers alive. Critics argue that the focus is less on spiritual growth and more on revenue generation. Houston's flood controversy. In August 2017, Houston faced devastating floods that left neighborhoods submerged and families stranded on rooftops. The church, capable of hosting 16,000 people, reportedly remained closed initially. Social media erupted when images showed dry parking lots and empty doors, creating a perception of inaction. The church insisted it had never fully closed and claimed it would shelter people as needed, but the delay sparked widespread outrage. This episode revealed a tension between public image and operational reality. For many observers, it raised questions about whether the ministry's generosity was performative or genuine, exposing cracks in a carefully curated image. Hidden cash and financial questions. In March 2021, a plumber repairing the church stumbled upon nearly $600,000 in cash and checks hidden in the walls. This money matched a previously reported 2014 theft, long considered unsolved. No audits or explanations followed, leaving both the public and church members questioning internal financial controls. The lack of transparency raised suspicions about oversight in an organization with a $90 million annual budget. While the money was returned to authorities, the incident highlighted systemic weaknesses. For critics, it reinforced the idea that the ministry's finances were shielded from accountability, and that the inner workings of the organization were tightly controlled by a select few. Legal and marketing scrutiny. Legal disputes have also shadowed the ministry. A 2022 lawsuit accused the church of using a celebrity's image in promotional material without consent. The case was quietly settled, leaving details unclear. Observers note a pattern of aggressive branding and minimal regulatory oversight. Combined with opaque finances, these actions fuel skepticism about how decisions are made. Experts argue that such a concentration of power in a single family-run ministry creates both opportunity and risk. Without external oversight, questions about ethics, stewardship, and governance remain unanswered, leaving supporters and critics alike uncertain about the true nature of the church's operations. Security failures and tragedy. On February 11, 2024, the church faced a crisis that shook its foundation. A former member entered the sanctuary during service with an AR-15 and her 7-year-old son, opening fire. 2 people were injured, including her child. Off-duty police on site neutralized the threat. The attack exposed gaps in security protocols. Bag checks were inconsistent, volunteer screening was lax, and reliance on off-duty officers proved insufficient. For congregants, the incident was more than a headline. It was a personal trauma. This tragedy underscored the dangers of operating a megachurch without robust safety systems, highlighting that scale magnifies both opportunity and risk. Family-controlled leadership. Lakewood Church's leadership remains tightly concentrated within one family. Joel and Victoria serve as co-pastors while their children oversee youth programs and worship teams. Financial decisions, charity allocations, and internal policies are all controlled by this inner circle. Outsiders, from donors to journalists, see little beyond curated messages and promotional videos. Critics argue that such centralized authority without independent checks threatens transparency and accountability. This family-centered model ensures loyalty and consistency, but also creates fragility. Should the founder step away, the institution may struggle to maintain confidence, revenue, and operational stability, given the dependence on a single charismatic figure. The fragility of a faith empire. The church's financial and organizational model is heavily tied to personal charisma rather than denominational or doctrinal strength. Donors give because of the pastor's image, not necessarily the church's broader mission. Historical examples suggest that when charismatic founders leave, revenue often drops dramatically, sometimes by as much as 70% in a single year. While family members may attempt to fill the leadership void, sustaining an empire built on personality rather than institutional resilience is a difficult challenge. Every structural decision, from staffing to budgeting, is filtered through the lens of centralized control, making the organization both powerful and precarious. Transparency and accountability. Lakewood Church exemplifies a broader trend among megachurches. Immense influence combined with limited transparency. No independent audits have been published, and the inner workings of the church remain largely hidden from the public eye. For many followers, trust is implicit. For critics, this secrecy represents a fundamental ethical problem. When financial and operational authority is concentrated in a small circle, accountability is inherently fragile. Questions about donations, spending, and governance persist. The ministry's ability to navigate future crises will likely depend not only on leadership decisions, but on whether congregations demand clearer standards of stewardship and oversight. The test of public trust. The ultimate challenge is whether the public will continue to place faith in the institution. Scandals, security failures, and financial opacity have exposed vulnerabilities that could quickly undermine confidence. Staff, donors, and satellite ministries all rely on the continuous flow of contributions. If trust falters, the impact may ripple outward, from empty seats to unpaid expenses and even diminished global influence. The church's ability to endure depends on more than charismatic preaching. It relies on transparency, accountability, and an engaged congregation willing to ask hard questions. For megachurches, public trust is both the foundation and the potential Achilles heel. Conclusion. The story of this ministry is a study in ambition, influence, and vulnerability. From massive arenas to worldwide broadcasts, the empire built on prosperity, hope, and personal charisma has reached millions. Yet controversies, from floods to hidden money to tragic violence, reveal the challenges inherent in scaling faith to industrial proportions. Centralized control, secrecy, and reliance on personality create both power and fragility. Ultimately, the fate of this ministry and the trust of its followers hinges on accountability. When scrutiny intensifies, the greatest miracles may arise not from sermons, but from transparency, oversight, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths.